We move on to question 8, and I call on the Honourable Member for Douglas Central, Mrs Corlett.
Thank you, Mr President. Now I ask the Minister for Infrastructure what progress has been made with plans to implement 20-mile-an-hour speed limit restrictions in residential areas, especially on roads surrounding schools.
Minister for Infrastructure to respond.
Thank you very much, Mr President. The Department has continued to progress implementation of 20-mile-an-hour zones in residential areas and around schools since presenting to Tynwald in July of this year. The design for Castletown has been completed and the detailed design for both Ramsey and Portsmouth Mary is close to completion following consultation. In Peel, the Department is nearly ready to consult with the Commissioners on the initial design for the area around Peel Clothworkers School. A public consultation will be scheduled in the coming weeks to review the areas around Ballacameen High School. The Department will continue to work on an additional 16 areas across the island. Thank you, Mr President.
Supplementary, Mrs Corlett.
Thank you, Mr President, and I thank the Minister for that very positive reply. And what I'd like to ask is, would he consider prioritising all of the roads around all of the schools to make walking and cycling safer for children? Would he consider starting with the secondary schools, as pupils will walk or cycle to school without the need for adult accompaniment, so it should make it easier? And I ask him what the time scale is for Douglas. Thank you.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr President. By Douglas, I presume the Honourable Member means Ballacameen and St Ninians, and I'll have to come back to it because I don't have these dates, but I'll have to come back. But bearing in mind that the Department only came to Tynwald in July for this, I think they are progressing quite quickly over the summer. And obviously they've had the summer holidays where they couldn't consult with the teachers and things. But consultation was scheduled to take place with regards to Ballacameen in July 2021. However, a decision was taken to leave that until after the election. The Department is ready to start the consultation process with other schools as and when we can do. Obviously, we can only do talk to one at a time, if you like, but we're moving on as quickly as possible.
Supplementary question, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr President. And I'm sure both Douglas Central MHKs are delighted to have confirmation that the officers have actually spent some time with consultants working up a proposal for around Ballacameen High School. Would the Minister agree with me that it was probably a good idea to put back the launch of the consultation till now? And consequent on that, 2 supplementary questions. Does the Minister agree with me that when this very controversial proposal is launched, that the Department is genuinely engaging and listening, because this is a major transformation of the area around Ballacameen High School, and it's important to go into this with an open mind? And can the Minister put it on record that the Department is engaging about this and accept the MHK's appreciation for that fact? And secondly, does the Minister agree with me it would be a good idea to try to get from Treasury and Tynwald a 5-year plan for this sort of work, so that we all know where we stand to actually make the situation around schools and in town and village centres better for people who live there, as well as other people who have the privilege of using our towns and villages?
Minister to reply.
If I can take the second part first. If the Honourable Member means I should be asking Treasury for a bit more money so we can do a 5-year plan so everybody knows exactly where that's coming from, I'm happy to do that when we visit Treasury in the coming weeks. And as for engaging, the Department has been engaging with everybody as we've gone along, obviously, but we're more than happy to come back. I think, unless I misunderstood, more than happy to come back and talk to the Honourable Members who belong to where the schools are, those members who belong to those constituencies where the secondary schools are, which I think we're concentrating on first because of the numbers that are involved in those bigger schools, but we are doing the primary schools as well. We're happy to engage all the time, of course, with members from the constituencies.
Supplementary question, Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr President. With regard to the first answer in terms of Castletown and the 20-mile-an-hour zone, when will an update be provided on that? And in terms of the promenade, will the length of the promenade remain as a 20-mile-an-hour zone? Thank you.
Minister to reply.
Mr President, I don't have that information to hand, but I will get it and forward it to the Honourable Members. And he mentioned the promenade there. I presume you mean Castletown Promenade.
No, sorry, the one in Douglas, in terms of the existing restrictions of 20 miles an hour for the whole length, is expected to continue.
Minister?
Not to do with the schools, and I'm not sure with regards to what relevance that has on this, but I'll take it up with the member afterwards, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. And supplementary question, Mrs. Corlett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask the Minister, is his department considering calming measures to ensure compliance rather than trying to enforce or rely on self-enforcement? And if so, does he appreciate that consultation with residents is hugely important in this and it should be carried out sooner rather than later?
Minister to reply.
Consultation with residents is absolutely essential. This will affect them probably more than the people that are using the schools, I would imagine, as they live in that area and they're 7 days a week. So that is absolutely essential that will happen with the residents in all areas. Calming measures. If we just end up putting 20-mile-an-hour signs up, people will not adhere to that. Most drivers are good and will go at the speed which is right for the area. Most people will do that. We know that some don't. If you just leave it to a 20-mile-an-hour signage, people won't adhere to it. Some people won't adhere to that, and we know they'll do whatever they can do at certain times of the day. So we will be looking at traffic calming measures for sure. And again, that's why we need to talk to people, because it will affect their areas and probably parking.